Welcome to Symposium on rightradio.ca. I'm your host, Roman Chodan, and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Keegan Gwydolin.
Hello.
And Mackie Drew.
Hello there.
Today's show is titled, In My Day. And I forgot to do a little thing here.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So we have
We're your local neighborhood Time Lords.
Yes, we are.
I assume Mackie wrote that because
Yeah.
you're into Doctor Who, right?
I did. Yeah. Okay.
All right, we have
Doctor Who thing.
a PSA. It's somewhat long. The title is Golf Student Job Fair. Are you a student? Do you need a job? We can help. Today from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., students are welcome to attend the job fair located in the Student Services Building, room SSB 116.
Today?
Yeah, is it today?
So
get
Probably
that
today.
No, don't go because you're listening to our radio show, which goes until 2.
Okay, I'm going to finish this now. The Golf Facility Operations Management class of Durham College hosts today's job fair and hopes to connect various students to great local employers. There are a variety of opportunities available to students from the culinary program, food beverage program, athletics, sports admin, and hospitality program. Be sure to visit the job fair in SSB 116, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Spring is almost here.
To 1 p.m.?
Yeah, it's 2 p.m., but to 1 p.m. you should.
Okay.
Okay, don't. I guess then
Yeah.
by its own admission, don't go.
Yeah, don't go.
All right.
If you're listening to our show now, don't go. All right, so I guess it's time for According to My Research.
All right.
All right, so I have basically, according to my research, I just have a couple of historical fun facts, which are,
Leading
might-
to our topic of
Yeah.
in my day.
yeah. So the first one I have here is Napoleon's height. Classically, people think that Napoleon is really short, like just over 5 feet or something.
Yeah.
But that's according to the French foot unit of measurement, which is a little bit larger than the imperial foot. And so his actual height would have been around 5'7", which isn't actually that short in his day.
No, that wouldn't be.
No.
That's
No.
really.
I mean, people are a lot taller now.
Yeah, that's above average now for men.
Is it?
Yeah,
No.
5'6" is average for men.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So go anyway. Go
Yeah.
on.
Apparently, he had a nickname for it was like General Short or something, but it was like a shorty or something. But it was an affectionate.
The little general.
Yeah, little general. That's right. And it was like an affectionate kind of thing, but it wasn't an actual descriptor.
He was little on losing.
Yeah, that's right. All right. The next one is there is the story that when Rome was burning, Nero was fiddling or whatever.
I'm not sure I've
Fiddling.
heard this one. I saw this briefly on the
Yeah, on the
Wikipedia page?
misconceptions.
Yeah.
which I have all these from. But yeah, so apparently Nero has this classical kind of view that he was insane and crazy, and he was just like this really messed up emperor. So while Rome was burning, essentially they say that he did nothing but fool around and stuff. But apparently in real life he led a lot of relief efforts and kind of helped actually quite a bit. So I don't know really where that comes from.
All right. Well, when you say fiddling, do you mean?
I think it actually means
On
playing
a fiddle.
On a fiddle.
That's what I thought. Okay.
and
I just wanna make
part
sure.
of the misconception was they didn't have fiddles
Yeah.
back then.
and it wouldn't even have I forget.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought they were, European, like
They were
East-
in middle age, I think.
Yeah.
Western European. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, even the lute wouldn't even. Yeah.
No.
From angles. Anyway.
The next one is I think a lot of people have actually heard this. Is Christopher Columbus was not the first to reach North America. We know at least Leif Erikson to have been there before. And
Viking.
Yes, the Viking. And that's all I really have on that.
Not to mention.
And not to
Native
mention
Americans.
the natives.
Oh yeah, I know. From Europe. We don't count the names. We just assume they were always there, I guess.
All right.
They weren't always there. They came across on the Bering Strait.
I know, but as far as civilization
Yeah, I guess so.
is concerned, it started there and
Yeah,
didn't
all right.
move.
All right.
And the last one I have here is the witches being burnt at the stake at Salem, which is not true. Most of them were hung and one was crushed by falling rocks.
Oh, well then.
That's
It's not.
They're not burnt at the stake. That's fine.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. The common thing, burn her at the stake. She's a witch burner.
Well,
It's
I
more
think-
like she's a witch. Smash her with rocks.
I like
or
the
hang her.
I like the Simpsons version where they gave They thought Marge was a witch, so they gave her a broom and they're like, jump off this cliff, and if you're a witch, you'll fly away to safety, and if you're not, you'll plummet to your death. It's like, oh yeah, that's a great way to figure it out. And they go, oh yeah, and if you're able to fly away, come back here so we can like punish you.
Yeah, and that's all I really have.
All
So,
right.
Keegan, you want to do yours?
Yeah, sure. So people may have heard of this. I'm sure it's pretty famous. I'm talking about the Rosetta Stone. And this is a stone, it's an ancient Egyptian tablet, which is inscribed with a decree issued at Memphis in 196 BCE on behalf of King Ptolemy V, who was the pharaoh at the time. And this is like fairly non-particular. The only interesting aspect of it was it's written in 3 languages. So the upper portion is written in ancient Egyptian hieroglyph, and the middle is Demotic, which is another Egyptian way of writing that doesn't use the hieroglyphs. And then the lowest is the ancient Greek. And the reason this is significant is because before this we didn't know how to decode Egyptian hieroglyphs. So now we had the same message in a couple of different languages, and we knew ancient Greek.
Yeah, and just on that, like Ptolemy was Greek, was he not? I'm pretty sure he was. I think
There
was
were
a
a
part
couple
of
of-
Egypt where
there were a couple of
the Greeks kind of
Egyptians-
took over for a bit.
Yeah, there were a couple of Egyptians, like Cleopatra was Greek, and she ended up being a pharaoh or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not really up on that.
Queen
kind
of the
stuff.
Nile.
Queen of the Nile and such, you know.
Yeah. So the reason that this is significant is just because of the translation it provided. It was taken from the original place they found it, and it was used during the Crusades to rebuild some temple, just as like, I don't know, a miscellaneous piece of stone, and sort of just left there. And then in 1799, a soldier in the French Foreign Legion rediscovered it and realized that it was significant. And this the place he found it was in this place, this town called Rashid or Rosetta, and which is in the Nile Delta, which is where it gets its name from. And then, so the French had it, and then the British ended up winning whatever war was going on then, and the British took it. And it now resides in the British Museum and has been since 1802.
Spoils of war.
Yeah, and it is the most visited object in the museum.
Really?
Well,
I wouldn't expect that, but that's still pretty cool.
I saw it.
How was it?
It's cool.
Is it large?
It's like,
Brick size? 'Cause
big.
they used it
we're
to
on
build-
radio.
Yeah.
there's cameras. Yay big.
It's about a cubit long.
I think it is about a cubit long,
That's why I
which
said
is
it.
the distance between your elbow and the tip of your finger.
All right.
So there you go.
I listen just sound, so I would prefer.
All right.
All right.
A
Well,
cubit long.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I've got on the Rosetta Stone.
So yeah, I thought I'd branch off from that and talk about the Rosetta Project, which is a current, like, contemporary version of the Rosetta Stone in a way, and it's a project intended to like keep languages alive, because like something like 90% of languages that exist are going to be right now are going to be gone in 50 years.
Just because
Can't
of people
wait.
dying?
People dying, other
cool,
languages overtaking them. You know,
That'd be really cool. to
becoming a
see.
more global world.
Good.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Glad.
So yeah, we've found it.
I was glad right away.
we found about 7,000 languages, and this project is saving 1,500 of them at least. So what it is it's a database of like basically translation material. So it's in many languages, being able to transition between different languages easily, and they've got
So
about.
is it a database or is it like a software?
It's a project, so it's actually a few different things. So one is the website, and they're building like, you know, a digital copy of all of this language stuff, and that's got like, I think 1.3 million pages on it. But they've got the Rosetta Disc as well, which is a small nickel disc. It's about the size of a baseball, and it is. It's got 13,000 pages written microscopically onto the surface. So, and you have to magnify it 360 times with, you know, whatever microscope you have, and then you can actually read the pages. So the reason they use nickel is so it doesn't degrade very strongly. The best thing to use is Ruby, but that's very valuable.
I need a ruby the size of a baseball.
But yeah, the cool thing is they intend this to last 10,000 years. That's how long they expect it to last. So that's their at least goal for the database. And they're going to be selling these nickel discs soon on the
Oh, they're like reproducing them
commercially. Yeah.
I guess that's the best thing to do, right? You want to make as many copies.
Yeah, and
of
you can
it
store
as
some in like a
possibly can.
vacuum seal, and it'd be good forever, pretty much, right?
You can request now to have one, but it costs a lot of money. They've got about 160 out in the world. It's for people who want them. And there's no price yet for the mass reproduced version, but they say it won't be overly cheap. So
Do you know if they
Start saving now.
Do you know if they save like the connotation of words? Because I know that like if you have just this means this, it would be different than how a person that actually grew up in that language would actually mean it.
I didn't I don't know what the fewer pages they have on the disk are, but I do know on the database of the millions of pages, they're very thorough. They have every definition, even ones you wouldn't expect. Very subtle definitions. It was used in this book once to mean this. It was used as an analogy here. Very, very thorough, and it's still growing really strongly.
It's actually awesome.
So, what kind of languages? You said they only included 1,500 out of the 7,000.
What kind of languages? Well, I mean,
like what ones were they like? No, this doesn't deserve to be preserved.
Well, some of them they don't have a lot of, so they don't count that as a preserve. They only have partial preservations. Like very partial, so they do have more than just the 1,500, but just small pieces. Okay. Just because they don't have the information. A lot of the languages aren't written; they're only spoken. That makes things more difficult.
Yeah.
So that's probably why. Again, there's manpower involved as well. So many factors, but mostly just the spoken thing. Most languages are spoken, and not written.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So yeah. And these 7,000 languages don't include dialects.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what about something like Pidgin?
Pidgin.
That's exactly what I thought too.
Like my roommate is from Nigeria, and he speaks Pidgin English, and it's completely indistinguishable.
Yeah, we tried to get him to like just talk to us, like describe this, describe that, talk to us, tell us a story in it, and it was the weirdest thing because I swear I could understand French a lot easier than I can understand that. It's completely distinct.
Well, then that's the thing. There is an official designation between a dialect and a language, and it has to do with if it's 85% similar or more, it's a dialect. So
it's probably a dialect. In fact, I'm sure that it's
I would say
classified
it's
as a
like
dialect.
less than 50% similar.
Well, then
the flow is different too.
Then they would be storing it. So that's what I'm saying. They when they count those 7,000, they're only counting distinct languages, but they're going to be preserving all the dialects within those languages. If you make the call, if you make a call for dialects, actually French and Italian are dialects of each other. They're not distinct languages.
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
Yeah. So,
all right.
A lot of those Latin languages, like Portuguese, is very close to Italian as well, I think.
And Spanish, stuff like that.
Well, all of the Romance languages are very similar.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Is that all we wanted to say?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, so I guess we're going to take our first music break. You're listening to Symposium on rightradio.ca.
I'm second.
Welcome back to Symposium on riotradio.ca. Now it's time for our topic of the day, historical misconceptions
Keep talking.
and shadow history.
Trying to shorten it down.
You
can talk over it. It's fine.
It feels wrong. It feels really wrong. All right, Mackie, do you want to kind of start with the introduction of shadow history?
All right, so I proposed this show just because at the time I was looking into a lot of different things people thought about what happened in history, and what a shadow history is anything that's not the norm. So you can talk about like alternative science is where people have crazy theories about what actually happens in science. A shadow history is another proposal about what actually happened. Like, for instance, a type of shadow history would be somebody like a 9/11 truther, where they'd say, this is like this isn't actually what happened. This is what happened. So that would be an example of shadow history. Another
We've seen
we've
seen one
share.
of those recently.
There's the phantom time hypothesis as well, which is I'd like to talk about it for a second. Which is the proposal. I believe this is a French historian, if you can call him that. He proposed that because when they switched to the Gregorian to Julian calendar, or Julian to Gregorian, they lost. They lost 10 days, but they were supposed to lose 13. So he suggests that there's actually some centuries that the extra centuries that would have been added in would have accounted for that because there was drift. That's what they were talking about, because the Gregorian or the Julian calendar didn't account for some leap years. So there was some drift during the days, and adding more centuries would have accounted for that extra 3 days they didn't adjust.
So he's saying that they added in centuries to the history that didn't actually happen.
Exactly. So they're saying that that this is all done as like a Jewish conspiracy. There's a lot of anti-Semitism, especially in Europe around that time, and that they're actually hiding up to 1,100 years are just invented, including Egyptian, Roman, Greek history. And including all of Chinese history. So this is called the phantom time hypothesis, and this is his only justification is that the Catholic Church switched from the only did 10 days or instead of 13, and the reason they did that is because they weren't adjusting to year zero like he thought. They were actually adjusting about 300 years to the point where they decided when Easter was, because that was the point of switching to the Julian or the Gregorian calendar from the Julian, to make sure that Easter is always in the right spot, because apparently that's an important day for some reason.
We don't know why.
I know why they think so.
No, okay. Anyway, but yeah, that's so I thought that was a fun one, the phantom time hypothesis, and that's
interesting.
The biggest example of shadow history I know.
That's really cool.
But yeah, another one I wanted to talk about quick was that nobody actually thought that the Earth was flat. So when you talk about people back in the day, they were like, oh well, you used to think the Earth was flat, and it's not. But they didn't. Any civilization we have where they talked about this, they always thought the Earth was a sphere. Mm-hmm. And
I think the first person was Aristophanes or whatever his name was, the Greek.
No,
dude.
actually, he wasn't.
Really?
No, they've known this since like 6,000 BCE. This is ancient knowledge, because if you look at any example, if you look at the horizon over an ocean, you see an island, half of it's cut off because there's a curve in the Earth, right? So the bottom part would be cut off. So you can really easily see all these examples. You can also tell that the Earth is round because when you look around in the horizon. So yeah, they may have been people who thought the Earth was flat, but we don't have any evidence of their civilization, probably because they didn't last too long. so like
there weren't enough of them.
As far as we know, nobody thought the Earth was flat. So why do we think people thought the Earth was flat? In the 1860s, there was a Christian sect that broke off, and they decided that because of some of these historic or these biblical passages, the Earth is flat. Like they talk about like
Satan took someone I think Jesus to the top of a mountain so we could see all of the world. So the only way you could do that is if it was flat.
Yes, very, very, very like things you have to like figure out to like.
Well,
get there.
I've heard this stuff that's like, he took it to the four corners of the Earth.
Yeah, or they pulled a leather sheet over it, and therefore it had to be like you pulled leather.
It's all implied stuff.
Yeah, very implied. So they were the guy who started this, he went by the name of Parallax.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Call me Parallax.
Yeah, he exclusively went by Parallax.
Close one arm over here, close the other arm over here.
So he started this
astronomy jokes.
he called it zetetic science, where he would just it was a mixture of like alternative sciences and biblical stuff, and he came up with a whole bunch of explanations for all the proofs that people had that the Earth was round, or rather an oblate spheroid rather, which looks like a squished egg. That's the actual shape of the Earth when you really get down to it. But so he started this. He started like the Zetetic Society, which was
Is this the Flat Earth Society?
It turns into the Flat Earth Society. So the zetetic comes from like the Greek word, a Greek word that basically means to constantly question things you already know. So hey, look, that's something we could get behind. But
Earth is flat.
Earth is flat for sure. Okay, but yeah, and he started this. He got a bit of a following. It sort of simmered out and died. Then 100 years later, in 1956, they this is pretty a British fellow started the Flat Earth Society, which was he was a sign maker and he started a newsletter.
Sign maker.
At its peak, it got about 24,000 members.
Wow.
And even back then, that was
When
a
was
lot.
yeah? When was
This is
considering the
1956. Yeah, but the newsletter still remains today. It still keeps going on. It's mostly about. It's not really about biblical stuff anymore. But he says that he was inspired by parallax, and it's still carried on today. And there's only about 2,000 members now worldwide, and they have a website called theflatearthsociety.org. And you can go on there and you can see all their explanations for things like, how do we have pictures of, the Earth being round?
It's absurd things. They're like, oh, it's faked by NASA, or there's like gravitational
lensing, which is a thing, but it doesn't happen in that scale. But
you need a black hole to do that.
Mostly if you go on the website, it's not just about flat Earth. It's about like a whole bunch of like anti-science theories and like all about conspiracy. Like, wow, the government's hiding their death rays and stuff. It's really funny. Take a look.
You don't just show off your death rays.
So
you're looking for some good, clean fun. Go to their website.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. The different shadow histories I know of.
I think that gets confused with the notion that the Earth is the center of the universe.
Yes,
which is
absolutely.
one that was held.
Yeah, in fact, when I told you that nobody thought the Earth was flat, you said, wasn't Galileo...
No, oh really?
Yeah, you said, wasn't Galileo imprisoned for, saying that the Earth was flat? And,
no, I don't believe
the Earth was round. And then I was like, no, you're thinking the rotation thing.
Okay, maybe that's true.
I didn't want to bring it up, but you did.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right.
I can see myself doing that, I guess.
All right, anyway.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
All right. So I guess, I take over here and just talk about two sort of events that from the Bible that people consider historically accurate?
Yeah.
Or
a lot of people
Christians
just take this for granted. Even non-Christians would consider some things like this happening.
So I guess I'm going to start with the flood and stuff like that. That was always been my thing, that my kind of pet peeve when talking to Christians about kind of stuff. But so we kind of like looked into a little bit. So the problem with the flood, first of all, is if you discount any or you just kind of ignore the Bible, is the flood kind of is assumed to have happened like prehistory, before people wrote things down necessarily. Plus it destroyed the earth. So any records of it would it's still raining and then that got washed up somewhere. So so the whole thing was that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights and flooded the entire earth.
And the earth remained flooded for about a year.
Yeah, I think it was like 150 days or something.
Was it 150 days?
Yeah,
okay, I thought it was about a year. Okay,
I can't remember.
I don't remember either, but I think it was like
I thought it was another 40 thing. I thought it was like, and it remained that way for 40 days.
No, that's definitely wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole earth was pretty much flooded, and everyone died except for a family and their animals on a big boat. Which actually wasn't that big. It's about a quarter of the size of the Titanic.
It was 1/9 the size of the Titanic.
Yeah. Okay, so 1/9 the size of the Titanic.
And we know this because they give measurements in
they gave specific measurements. I think it was 50
cubits. 150 cubits long by 50
by 30.
cubits by something,
It's
30 cubits or something.
Very minor.
And that's why I mentioned the cubits thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so aside from all of like the crazy physical impossibilities, like I read that the rain required, like to have that much water to rain, the moisture content would be so high that it'd be impossible to breathe. The waves of a global flood would be miles high because there's nothing to break them.
Not to mention all of the for a couple reasons, all of the wood in Scotland and England wouldn't have been enough to build an ark of that size. And also, they've done the math. And also, they're in the desert. There's no trees to build that much.
And it was very specific. It was gopher wood.
Gopher wood. Yeah,
They were very specific
How
about
many
the
gopher
type
trees
of
are
wood.
And the other thing was that they say that they're preserving all of the animals, but none of the plants.
Yeah, all the plants would have died. They didn't account for any microorganisms. Also, all of the fish in the sea, that amount of rain, which is fresh water, would have diluted the salinity too much for the saltwater fish to survive, and it would have been too salty probably for even the freshwater fish to survive.
Yeah, because you're washing up the whole shore.
So it's in between the two, yeah.
Yeah, brashwater fish would be in heaven.
That's true. That's true. So that, aside from all that stuff, fossil records, which is kind of the best kind of thing we have for that, fossil and geological formations, don't really support it at all. And there was, however, evidence that there was some actual floods in the Mediterranean basin, and that the Mediterranean basin flooded. And when in like the 70s or something, Mississippi flooded, and it was like all you could see was water for like a couple miles. So it was like, if you were kind of an uneducated person, you would say the whole world just flooded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, their whole world did.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So
I've only been in these 10 miles.
Yeah.
And that's all flooded. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I can see why they would have maybe perceived it to have.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense.
Sort of.
Like even with the best of knowledge, they couldn't check North America whether it was flooded. Like I'm talking like
true, yeah.
best case scenario, they didn't go around the whole world.
Even in a year, it would take like.
Yep. North America's down. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you did you want to talk about
I was going to talk about the Exodus next.
Yeah, a lot of people think this one happened because they
Yes.
just take it for granted, but this is
Exactly, yeah.
no evidence.
So there is no historical evidence at all that any Israelites were ever in Egypt or traveling in the desert for.
So let's
40
clarify
years.
what we're talking about. This
Right,
is
the Exodus. That's
yeah.
when the whole thing, when Moses let my people go because they're slaves, and
the premise of the Prince of Egypt.
yeah, and and the plagues, the frogs, and then the parting of the Red Sea, and then they get across, and then it smacks on the emperor and his army, or the king and his army.
Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Pharaoh, that's right. That's the
obviously offhand you could dismiss a lot of the magic, like the frogs raining from whatever.
Yeah.
But like even the very
And the musical
premise,
numbers.
even the very premise that there were slaves building the pyramid, that's not a thing. Like they were well-paid Egyptian workers. We know this because we've
With
seen
healthcare
the
and
camps.
stuff.
Yeah.
Better healthcare than
And
the U.S.
surgery.
right now.
surgery, yeah, and they had surgery for when accidents went wrong. Accidents went wrong when things went wrong and accidents happened.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's no amount. So they predict that there'd be around like 600,000 people to leave, if true, and there's no record anywhere in the Egyptian records, which are decently extensive, and they would have written something down if 600,000 people left a small area.
Yeah, for sure. And the growth of the pyramids would have been slowed slightly.
Yeah.
There are no lines at this pub today. This is amazing.
Yeah, and there's no record of plagues, which certainly would have been noted if that happened.
Yeah, by farmers or higher ups or anything.
Because the
Or
river
if it started
Nile
raining
turned
frogs
blood.
and stuff.
Yeah,
Someone
the Nile
might have
turned
written
into blood or
something.
something.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And so So what goes along with that is where they went during their exodus, and a lot of the cities that they visited didn't exist in the same place and time. So
That's funny.
like Pithom and Ramses were inhabited. Oh yeah.
Are they
Pithom
talking
and
about
Ramses. Yeah,
and-
whatever. They're two cities, and they're named, I guess, a little bit differently in the Bible or whatever, but they were inhabited like centuries apart, like 2 or 3. And Edom, which is mentioned, was not inhabited for another, I think it was like 400 years.
So
This is just bad.
They say that it's
Whoever
mostly,
made this up didn't even
Yeah.
do their homework.
So it was mostly collection of works from I think it was like 400 BCE, and the events that took place, they say around like 1200 BCE, but then like all these dates and stuff are scattered in and around that area, but like by hundreds of years. And so the story is more a compilation of other stories and such.
It's not even internally consistent, and
No.
it's also Well, I mean, like obviously, the best guesses for all of this is that it was made up as sort of like a binding thing for the Israelites.
Actually,
You know, it
yeah,
was made.
that's what I've also read is that the Israelites were warring at the time, and this is kind of a way to
Bring them
alleviate
together.
tensions. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, feel good about yourselves. Hey, guess what we did? We beat all of Egypt. You know, like of course, it's a good story. And a lot of civilizations have flooding or not flooding stories, but like stories to do with like
Liberation.
Yeah, we all came
liberation
together.
and this pulls from a lot of different myths. You know, so we've got
And movies continue to be made.
Yeah.
About us defeating the aliens
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's just like human
Independence
nature
Day.
to make those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
for sure. All right, yeah. So that's fun. So we.
Is there any?
Ancient gear, or do you want to
Yeah.
address anything else?
So yeah, apparently I was supposed to do no one thought the earth was flat now, but
It's all good. We have ancient gear. I don't know.
ancient gear, yeah, I got that one. So ancient gear, I wanted to talk about some of the things that people, some of the like wearable things that people had back in the day, and for instance, the chastity belt. It's you put it on, or somebody puts it on you, so you can't have sex. It's to preserve virginity and whatnot. It was actually, they were only ever created in the 1850s. So like people thought it was this old medieval thing,
this medieval
and people
thing.
came up with it, and people would show this. There was like a hoax, like, oh, come to my circus so you can see the chastity belt, the thing that they used to use in the olden days. But that inspired real life things in the 1850s. So they were actually given from parents to children to avoid not sex but masturbation. So
Really?
that was back when they thought that masturbation was bad for your health. So yeah, that was given to both men and women to avoid masturbating. But yeah, another one was plate armor. So people say you could wear chainmail and it would protect you worse, but you could move faster, or you could wear plate armor and it was hard to move in and you would be slowed down and whatnot. But that's actually not the case. Chainmail was both worse for movement and protection. It was like an advancement. They used to make chainmail, and then they figured out plate armor.
I did hear that chainmail is better for like projectiles because it
projectiles.
Yeah, for
I don't know. I
I heard
didn't
that
look into
it provided protection against like an arrow, but it would just pierce through the plate
Well,
armor.
the thing is, the plate armor, you'd wear a lighter chainmail underneath, and then
Yeah.
a plate armor on top,
And a lot of the time, the plate armor would be angled. I saw
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they started
something where
angled.
they angled
Yeah,
it, and most of the time the
yeah,
arrows
the
just
breastplate
ricochet
is
off.
like kind
yeah.
of
yeah,
it
but-
tapers
So yeah,
in.
the plate
Like a
the plate
keel
armor
of a
was
dolphin? Or-
was lighter, stronger, and easier to move in, and you could mount a horse by yourself in plate mail, but you couldn't in chainmail. So obviously, like when you think about it, like why would you wear plate armor if it was this big of a hindrance? People often think, well, you couldn't move very well, but obviously it had to be effective, otherwise they wouldn't have worn it, and
Yeah.
it was very good. Oh yeah, so the Iron Maiden, the
Yes.
the
The spiky chair thing.
yeah no, sorry, not
and
the
the
chair.
band that
This is
was before our show.
This was the sarcophagus like
Yeah, right.
yeah, the sarcophagus like thing where you had spikes on one side and the other, and it would be pushed together and you'd stay inside, and
Slam the
a
door.
whole big history for it's been created, but it was only created falsely in the 1800s as a hoax, and the guy who created it was actually pretty smart. He was a doctor, and he later admitted to making it up, but he made the spikes in such a position that wouldn't kill a person right away.
Oh, really?
So they would be, they would slowly die from mostly starvation if it was used, was his intent, and they'd just be in the pain from the spikes. But it was actually never used to torture anyone. So
Good.
I actually heard that. I don't know how true this is, and I don't even remember the source. But I heard that it was that they tried to reconstruct from a bunch of debris they found.
Yeah.
And they just sort of like made it up from
that
the
is
stuff that they found.
that is the official story that the guy presented and how
Oh, I
he created
see.
and how he
Okay.
created it. Yeah, that was
Okay.
part of the myth that he
Okay.
made to invent this. And yeah,
pretty
he
good.
got pretty rich from the Iron Maiden, because he could sell it to museums and he kept finding them.
I found another one, guys.
Yeah, so another one I want to talk about was the Pilgrim's outfit. Like the first Thanksgiving kind of style. Pilgrims had the belts on their heads and then their shoes. And they wore all black, and That stuff, that was totally made up. That was a comic in like the 19th century. Because at the time, belts meant that you were being very quaint. The more belts you had, the buckles, they were quaint. They were a symbol of quaintness. So they put belts everywhere. You know, it sort of make it look nicer. But what they were actually wearing at the time of what would have been the first Thanksgiving would have been Elizabethan clothes. So, you know, like a lot of frills around the necks, on the wrists, and a lot big unreasonable clothes, you know, the ones
which is kind of contrary to the image of the pilgrims, right?
Yeah.
As sort of
Modest people.
Yeah. No, this would have been like, you know, face makeup, that kind of stuff. This was not Victorian. This was not where you would wear, you know, the bigger. This was like the thick frills.
Yeah,
this was the where the men would wear dress-like things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another one. Anyway,
How ironic.
so anyway, yeah, another one for me. Life expectancy. You've heard this one before.
Yes.
The when people talk about medieval times, they talk about, you know, how short their lives were. They were, you know, the life expectancy was 35, whatever, you know. But that's not how it was in medieval times.
Well, technically, the
life expectancy was 35. But the lifespan is what people really think they mean when they say life expectancy, which was about 65. So, you know, the person you averagely know when they die would be about 65. When they count 35, that's because of the high infant mortality rate.
Yeah, so like an average lifespan.
Yeah, exactly.
The average instead of the
lifespan would be things, or what would be counting once they're adults, once they've, you know, come to age, which would be 13. Sorry, that's when they're counting, you know, an adult for that. So that's a big misconception. People weren't living to 35. They didn't look old when they were 65 either. People would still age the same, you know. They would be, because, you know, it's we're still humans.
It's biological.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, you know, the really, really old people you see now.
What about older, though?
Sorry?
What about further back in time? Like ancient, you know, biblical times or whatever.
We obviously, the further back we go, the worse the information gets. It's very hard to tell something like that, you know. But anyone where we would get a good indication would be things that were well kept records, like the Greeks kept good birth and death records, so we can deduce from that how long people lived, and in that case, it was still around 65.
Yeah,
because they had a society, right? They could live. So I don't know, like wild humans. I don't know how long they would live.
Cavemen,
but. Probably less. Anyway, so yeah, how do we know how old things are? That's a good thing, because we're talking about how shadow history, how they come up with different proposals, and how do we know that they're wrong and we're right? And I thought we could all come in on this. I don't have any notes on this, but we do know these things, you know. Yep. So what are some ways we know how old things are?
Well, I know your big thing was dendrochronology, right?
Yeah.
And linking that to carbon dating.
So dendrochronology is tree rings, and that's how a big way we know how old things are, right? We know that every year there's a different cycle, and there's a ring made in the inside of a tree. So when you cut a tree, you can count how many years old that tree is. The thickness of these rings can depend on different years, or the different sediment that they find in the rings. You know, it could have been a higher year for, you know, let's say a volcano erupted and far away, we'd find, you know, more carbon in the interior
thicker
of the tree.
Rings tend to indicate
better growth seasons.
Yeah. So more water or less water.
So say we cut down a tree, and it's, you know, we've got one really thick line, and we're like, hey, what's that? We can cut down another tree that's older and be like, oh, look, there's that same thick line. So we know that tree, those trees were over in the same years, and we can count how many years older that other tree is. So what we can do is we can carbon date each of those rings and find good ways to calibrate our carbon dating. So when we
verify the carbon dating accuracy.
So carbon dating on its own is actually pretty inaccurate. Once we calibrate it, you know, you can be off by up to 2,000 years, and it's only you can only use carbon dating up to 65,000 years at its most, and most people don't even use that at that point.
No, I've heard 10,000 is the reliable.
It's theoretically effective at up to 65,000, but most people don't use it for that. So yeah, we've got this huge database of different tree rings that we've combined. The oldest trees we have are 10,000 years old, things like that, and then we can make those sync up with different ways we work with shells, so we can find out how old shells are and work those in together.
Yeah, different radiometric techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. Different we've got, you know, tens of different radiometric techniques. We have ice cores that we can calibrate that with too, and it all comes together in a massive worldwide database of how we can figure out exactly to the year, and sometimes within the same year, how old something is. So yeah, we can use those to find like different things. So say there was a battle, and we can find an old like axe with the
wood.
the handle
Yeah,
was
yeah.
wooden, so
Wooden
we can
handle.
find out how old that wood was, and we can find out therefore when that battle was. So we're not just counting on like old records, because if it's found in just like somebody wrote it down, it could be a lie, obviously. But like, and then big events like astronomical events like eclipses and
Yep. The supernova.
yeah
From
The Chinese records.
the Chinese records. Which one was that? The Crab Nebula, the one
Yeah.
that became the Crab Nebula.
Yeah, so something like that really helps, especially like I'm glad you brought up the Chinese records, because they used a different date and than they did in Europe.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So you had to figure out how you can make those sync up. So when they both record about the same eclipse, you can know that was the same day, and then you can work from there. So that's basically a few of the ways we know.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other things to add?
Not really.
I think that's it.
It's just-
those
yeah.
are the main things.
Yeah,
right?
you use-
Supernovae are big because
You can see it from
nova means new, and so it's like a new star appearing in the sky.
Yeah.
So that's when these people saw, when they saw a new star in the sky, they recorded it, and that's a really reliable way for us to know.
They didn't have TVs back then, so the sky was the most happening thing.
Yes.
Yo, did you see the sky last night? By the water cooler.
By the well.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we're gonna take a music break then.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So you're listening to Symposium on rightradio.ca.
Jane says, I'm done with Sergio. You treat me like a rag doll. She hides the television. Said I don't know him nothing about it. When he come back again, tell him wait right here for me. Oh, try again tomorrow. I'm gonna kick tomorrow. I'm gonna kick tomorrow. Jane says, have you seen my wig around? Looking naked with
Welcome back to Symposium on rightradio.ca. Now it's time for our Act 3 quiz section thing. We don't have a name for it, so...
Well, we changed it a few times.
yeah,
You know,
Sometimes called science or fiction.
sometimes.
depends on the game.
Yep.
Should play tic-tac-toe sometime.
So, this week I'm going to have you guys use these buzzers.
Yes!
Finally. So, take your positions.
All right,
All
this
right.
is really
Mackie,
uncomfortable.
let's hear yours. Okay.
Nice.
And Roman?
Oh, come on.
All right. So,
That took us like 2 hours to find.
this is the ancient inventions quiz. So, I'll list an invention, and you have to tell me if it's ancient or modern. And by ancient, I mean something pre-zero, pre-year zero. And modern will be within the last, I don't know, like 300 or 400 years. So there's a significant difference. All right. Let me just get my answers here. Okay.
Just hiding them under the desk.
Yeah, I don't want you to see. All right.
What a peek.
So, wristwatch. Mackie,
I'm going to say old.
you are wrong.
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
It
I
is
had to.
modern.
I thought it was a trick question.
Me too, but there's no friggin' way.
It was invented in the 17th century. It is dependent on the portable spring-powered clock, which was invented in the 15th century.
I thought they could have done a sundial on the wrist.
That's not a watch.
I would call it a watch.
And I don't think they ever did that. That's like a Hercules thing.
That's more. That reminds me of like Futurama.
All right.
Okay.
Plywood.
I think it's modern.
You, sir, are wrong. Plywood is ancient. 3500 BCE. It was originally done due to a shortage of high-quality wood. So they would take crappy wood and then glue nice-looking wood over it, just for aesthetics.
I didn't think they would have the planing technology to like actually make sheets. But I guess
ancient
did.
Egyptians, man.
They got big.
I
flat
thought they
blocks.
just had like
Come on.
huge trees they just carve out whatever that's a boat now.
Yeah, well,
Or whatever.
Well, Egypt is known for its trees. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they would glue high-quality, good-looking wood over, gross-looking wood just for aesthetics, and they're like, oh, it's really strong and stuff.
So wait. What did they use for the glue? Do you know, or
Some sort of resin.
that was?
combination.
I was curious. That was my like point where I was
Yeah.
like, well, I don't know what they'd use
For
for glue
me, it's
back
how
then.
they got sheets of wood. That would be
All right, suitcase, Mackie.
I'm gonna say that's ancient because it's a box that you carry.
It is modern.
Oh, yes.
And by suitcase, I mean specifically handheld travel case. And
They didn't have a handheld travel case.
no, they
before the
did not.
1800s, Really?
No, what they had were trunks, and those those enormous
Yeah.
trunks that you use.
We have one in my house.
They used to have those. Those go back to like ancient China. So they've had those for a long time, but they never scaled it down to wrong one, Mackie.
Well, okay.
They only scaled it down fairly recently. I don't have a year. All right, ice skates.
I think that's old. I think that's very old.
That is very old. That is 3000 BCE. Originally was invented by the Finns in Finland.
The Finnish?
And so they used animal bones to, scoot around quickly.
All right.
The earliest metal blade was 200 CE.
Wow.
That's still pretty good.
They've had that for a long time. Elastic bands. That was Roman first.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make an answer anyway. I've already seen the list. I think that's new.
That is new. 1845.
Wasn't it like by mistake or something?
I don't know, but it was like they only had the elastic technology. Like they only had the idea
Yeah.
of using these sort of elastics for it's a fairly recent invention. Shampoo.
I know. I'm just gonna let him go because as soon as you finish, I'm just gonna be.
I'm gonna say recent because I believe it's a mouthwash thing where they invented a reason and it was like a solution looking for a problem.
I so think old.
Okay, it's modern.
Oh.
1762. It was invented in Bengal and originally called champo in Hindustani, and it was originally sort of something that goes along with a head rub. They give like sort of head rubs, head massages.
Like some kind of oil they put on.
Yeah, with oil, and then they changed it so they added some surfactants and stuff like that, and it ended up cleaning.
That makes
your hair.
sense. Okay. Yeah, no, I was sorry. I know the history of shampoo, but only the Western history. I guess I should have focused more on the Indian history.
And then it was brought over shortly thereafter by the British. to, Western society. Perfume.
I think old. It has to be old.
Yes, it
Sorry,
is
Matt Gillich of the
ancient.
next one.
I'm
It is
sure.
ancient.
Well, I mean, to use that whale gunk, you'd have to be really like,
2000 BCE.
wow.
They found a whole factory that used to make this. It, typically would use distilled flowers, oil, calamus, concentrated scents. And the oldest perfumes have been discovered in an ancient perfumery with about 60 stills. And 4 of those perfumes have been recreated. You can buy them.
Oh, that's
Really?
awesome.
Yeah. So, and this is all like the ancient Mesopotamians, I think it is.
Oh, that far back.
Sorry, the Indus Valley civilization,
I have no
which
idea.
they apparently invented everything. Like every single thing I looked up looking for something that was modern. Like you don't know how hard it is to find modern inventions. Everything's
iPhone.
everything's been invented by the Indus already. It's ridiculous.
Did,
That's awesome. I had no idea though. Like I've never heard of that before.
that there's only 2 senses that aren't patentable, or rather trademarkable. So you can have anything you can see, like a graphics, you can
Brand.
trademark. You
Yeah.
can do that with anything you can feel, like a texture, you can trademark. And anything you can hear, you can trademark, but you can't trademark a taste or a smell.
Interesting.
You can only trademark the formula. Anyway,
Well, yeah.
but if you can recreate it another way, then yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Makes sense.
All right. Ready? Lenses. Yes. Matt.
I think that those are.
Oh, come on. Old.
No. I think those. I do think those are old because it's so easy. It's like bended glass or water.
It is old. It is 1000 BCE. So they actually had lenses after they had perfume. And the one they found was called the Nimrud lens, which was found in the Assyrian palace of Nimrud. And it's made of rock crystal that was probably used to start fires, as a magnifying glass, or possibly as a telescope.
That's fair.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. The next one is quilt. Yes,
I
Matt.
don't know my
Old.
hand on the pad.
No.
What?
Modern.
Oh yeah.
But it's so easy.
12th century.
karma.
It was introduced by crusaders who wore padded blankets under their armor. That was the first time anyone's
Oh.
ever used a quilt.
So what do you define a quilt as?
Yeah. What do you
A
even do?
blanket
quilts?
with different distinct panels that you
Okay.
sew together or whatever.
I just assumed it'd be old because you could do different did people do family histories with
There
those?
was-
And that was big in the past.
There's a debate going on. It's like, oh, there was a carving of a pharaoh who looked like he had something quilty on. I was like, yeah, that's not good enough.
I don't want to get involved.
What do
in
you even
this
do?
quilt
With, I don't
debate.
even know what you do with quilts now. Like
It's a blanket.
just something your grandma
Anyway,
knits and then
yeah.
you have it in your attic.
All right, we got 2 more questions. Ready?
Yep.
Cataract surgery.
That was him.
Roman.
That was Roman.
Old.
Yes, 6th century BCE. Performed in India with a curved needle, which was used to loosen the lens and push the cataract out of the field of vision.
So it's not actually. It'll just accumulate the.
Yeah,
money
yeah.
there.
They didn't actually take it out; they just pushed it away, pushed it out of the field of vision. And
that works.
dental drill.
Dental drill. I think that's very, very old.
Yes, you're right. 7,000
Oh, God.
BCE.
Yeah.
Again, the Indus Valley civilization used bow drills, and teeth have been found with cavities in them of 3.5 millimeters, right beside these things.
The Indus Valley was a very advanced civilization.
They were busy.
I know a lot about the Indus Valley, which is why I knew about this, and they are very impressive. Look,
Yes, they
look
are.
them up in any way.
All
in
right,
any
let's
capacity.
move it on though.
Yeah, let's
to
close it up.
The question for the audience, Keegan. That's your whole thing.
Okay, so response from last week. What was our last one?
Our last one, the quiz itself was very complicated in words, or the riddle, but the answer was history, or it could have been past.
Right.
Yeah.
So this week's question is this scantily clad fashion icon split the atom?
And just let us know what that is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Email your answers to symposium.uit@gmail.com.
Or
Tweet
Twitter.
us at symposium
R.
_RR.
Yeah.
And we have another thing. Oh,
Facebook.
Facebook. Yes,
Yeah.
find us on Facebook.
That other thing. All right, thanks guys for listening. See us next week on Friday from 1 to 2, and our next show is Flying Cars and Atomic Bombs.
played it in my mind because I blame it on my ADD, baby. This is how an angel dies. I blame it on my own supply. Blame it on my ADD, baby. Sail, 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 sail. Maybe I should